Dogs are generally welcome at antique shows, and this one's very friendly, aren't you? Yes, hello there. I wish I had a treat for you.
Hi, I'm George the Antique Nomad. Come with me as I wander the country in search of valuable vintage, amazing antiques, and cool collectibles. We'll buy, sell, and trade at antique malls, shops, and shows, estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, anywhere people go to find really interesting things that just aren't made anymore. So come on, let's go!
Hey everybody, it's George the Antique Nomad. I am at the West Palm Beach Antique Fest, and I'm here early because I'm selling here. So we get in early, and a lot of things may not be open, but I want to give you as much of a preview as I can because yesterday was the first day. It's the first show of the new year, and it was busy. Very pleasantly surprised. We had all of our regular customers. I had a number of viewers come, which was really great. It was so good to see everybody. I had a very good day. Sales were brisk. It was a lot of fun. They're doing full safety protocols and all that good stuff, so people were able to come in. There's sanitizer about every 10 feet against the back wall. Everybody had to take care of things, so it was all good, and we are going to have some fun today. I'm going to show you what I can because not everything is open, but we'll eventually get through. The January show is one big building inside and a bunch of people out in the breezeway, so we'll see how much we get to show you. I'm going to start on my space. I won't cover everything in this space because some of it has been in previous videos, but I will give you some of the highlights and show you some of the fresh stuff I have. One thing I've got is a bunch of movie posters, and they're really great movies. Well, okay, they're not really great movies, but they're really great graphics. Dr. Goldfoot and the Girl Bombs. I had a guy come yesterday and say, oh yes, I saw that in the theater when it was new, and I said, oh, was it any good? And he said, I remember it wasn't, but that's all I remember. Next to it, we've got the Van Teal Lucite floor lamp. It's a little hard to see because, well, it's Lucite, but it's a great late 70s, early 80s Lucite floor lamp. It's signed Van Teal at the base, and Van Teal, well, that's the name you want in Lucite, one of the names for certain. And so that's very much a Palm Beach look. Let's go into the booth here really quickly. I'm not opening yet, so I'm going to keep it kind of closed. I've got a whole bunch of movie posters. Here's another one, The Sword and the Dragon, with the largest cast used in any motion picture. Well, just that three-headed dragon is the largest cast used in any motion picture. And then here is Joan Crawford in Straight Jacket. This was one of her last movies when she was still keeping her career going. It's a great graphic. And for those who have strong feelings about Joan Crawford one way or another, it might be perfect. I did bring some different cameras than I've had, especially this big Polaroid with the diaphragm, the 110X. That's an early one for them. And then Disney characters. Dumbo's by Royal Dalton. American Pottery made Thumper. And I think American Bisque may have made Donald here. Let's take a look at the bottom and see if we can tell. Oh, no, this was probably American Pottery. They had the original contracts for making the Disney characters back in the day. I thought this lighthouse was neat. It's very Floridian looking, and the boat model looks good with it. I sold quite a bit of neat Blenko yesterday, but I do still have these great face vases. These were a Hank Adams design from the 1980s to 90s period. That's why it's got the square Blenko tag. That's that era of production. The orange sort of poodle-ish looking vase in the middle there, and this green one below, those are both Blenko as well, and those are from 1967. Those were a Joel Philip Myers design. The gecko is more contemporary, probably about 10 or 15 years old, but that's dichroic glass, and it was just pretty, so had to bring that. The Minton Queens Beasts, you can hear me talk all about them in the video I did on Antiques Roadshow. You'll see that in my listings. This Spelter piece is very fresh to me, from about 1890, and he's just got a really good design. And I just got a number of copper pieces, as you saw. This piece in the back here is noteworthy because it is from Northern California, and it is actually made to be a hat. That's why it has that rim inside. Very cool piece. I'm going to put it on just so you can see, because you know I like doing that hat thing. There we go. What do you think? It's getting a little flat the way I have it stored. I'm going to have to get a proper hat block for it. I don't usually seek out Hummels, but I just got a big collection, and there's some unusual ones here. In the back behind the Fabergé egg is this, which is The Last Supper. That's one you do not see so often. That's by Goebel also. Not a Hummel, because it's not one of Hummel's designs, but she was a nun, so appropriate enough. And then I like this one with the minaret. There's the Meissen box. That one is in Capodimonte style. I talked about that in a recent haul video, and that's a very valuable piece. This is a Hager ashtray with the coins mounted in it. And right behind that we have several of the Bestwick figures. I showed those in a haul recently, and a bunch of those sold right away. These, it's the first time we've had them out of the box, so you can see we've got Hunka Munka and Farmer Potatoes and Peter Rabbit. I just got a collection of fishing lures. These are all old wooden ones. Wooden ones are the ones people are after. And I wanted to show the maroon panther lamp. He's got open eyes so the light comes out of them. And I thought that was pretty cool. Some different things for this show, and it's been very good so far. Now we're going to take a look at what other people have. There's a sign of the times, and you can see they are all down the hall, all those little black stanchions. We do see furniture at West Palm Beach because a lot of people come down for the season and they're snowbirding, so they're looking for furniture this time of year. These Lucite columns are holding up a large sheet of glass being used as a large coffee table. That's going to be 1980s, as are the big lamps behind them. The chairs with the bamboo are 1970s. That was a look that was very popular in Florida at the time. Of course, a lot of people think Golden Girls. Those styles were a little rounder, but you get the idea. This tuffet in the middle with the button tucking is really neat. You could probably fit 4 on that. These are very exemplary of turn of the last century spelter and bronze pieces. This one I believe is hollow bronze because I tapped it and it rang like that. And these were to represent various young lovely maidens in various guises. This one is at a masquerade. You see she has the mask over her eyes. Wearing a mask is not a new thing. And she says she is frou-frou. And there's our artist signature on the side. That's where you want to look for these sorts of things. This is a good example of this type of work and how to find the signatures. If it's spelter, they can be as little as 5 inches tall and under $100. If it's bronze, they can be quite monumental and very valuable. These are vintage items, but West Palm is really into interiors as well. These elephant planter holders or small tables made of ceramic. These have been done for over a century. My hunch about these is that they're probably mid-20th century. The Art Deco marble clock is a French or Belgian piece flanked by French pair of garniture vases, also Art Deco. Now we're outside in the breezeway. For this show there's people outside, and then for the next show all these buildings behind us will be open. That's the big extravaganza next month, and they'll need all the space that they can get. It's nice having things outside because it gives a chance, especially in the current environment, for people to get some fresh air, be outdoors, and still be looking at cool things. And among the cool things are these lamps here, which I'm going to take us towards. These are 1970s. And they are a little different twist on the Sonneman lamps of that era. I have not seen this particular black base before. but the chrome pods are familiar. And then this one's a floor lamp, and I like how the lights point to the ceiling. Very 1970s. It's right when we're starting towards the torchiere lamps that ended up dominating design in the 1980s. And the price on this one is $475. The price on the smaller one is $365. These things are pretty popular with designers and decorators, and in this part of the country, for the right person, those prices are attainable for dealers. Everything has its market somewhere, and this is probably the top of the market for that type of item. These woven fiberglass patio furniture pieces are something we see especially in Florida. They are designer. I believe they're wooded. You'll see them in somewhat dilapidated condition because fiberglass, if you don't paint it, gets worn like you see on the top surface there. They're not hard to fix as far as that goes. One drawback about outdoor shows, you may end up with rain, and it did rain here briefly this morning on our way in, so I do see some of these things got wet. The perfume bottles with the gold, 1960s and early 70s, they have that Hollywood Regency look. Very popular now. They sell for about $75 each. This is a Keramos cat, Keramos. This is from Austria, 1950s and 60s. I'm going to see if we can find, yes, there's the, it says Vienna or Wien, so from Austria. Made in Austria, and there is the label. This one is priced at $50. Their work used to sell for a lot more than that because it has a certain realism to it. I think some of their pieces could end up being sleepers. They're a little under noticed in the market right now. And there's the polar bear. We don't see a polar bear too often. He's priced at $125. Also priced at $125 is this brass stand. It has a Victorian look. We're going to see how heavy it feels. Okay, it feels fairly light. The screws are pretty visible. I'm of the opinion that this is probably Victorian revival done maybe in the 1950s or 60s. All very pretty. Now this is a little piece by a designer who is fairly new to me in terms of familiarity. This is Oscar Bach. It could be used as a seat, it could be used to hold kindling, it could be used to hold any number of things. It looks as if it would fold up, it doesn't. That's one way you know it's older. And look at the nice detail there with the griffins. And that one is priced $200. We see a lot of newer doll houses, but this one's pretty spectacular. This one's got age. It wasn't just made to look old, it was made some time ago. You can tell by the way it's done. It's got shakes on the dormers. It's big. This is Barbie size. Most of them were made for smaller dolls, and most of them are not so easy to sell but this one would fit the dolls that girls like to play with now. And because of that, I think it's pretty great. It's also quite large. You would have to have a place to put it, but look at the detail. Somebody built in fireplaces and windows, paneling, the Adams style windows and transom. That's just really cool. Somebody put a lot of time, effort, and love into making that, probably in the 1930s. Dogs are generally welcome at antique shows, and this one's very friendly, aren't you? Yes, hello there. I wish I had a treat for you. Now, beyond the dog, we have some pretty cool things here that I wanted to show because, again, they're very 80s and they're very Florida. You've got the two big bird lamps, and then behind, these designer mirrors from the 1980s are becoming very popular again. It's very deco. This one's got the exotic bird. Some were made by Marshall, and I believe that this one is one of them, yes. There's the signature Dave Marshall. There are starting to be good buyers for David Marshall mirrors. I got $100 for one with a shell that was fairly small recently, so I know the market's really improving on these. If you're really into gold, here's these 1970s doorknobs, Lucite with gold fleck inside of them. That is schmaltzy. These are really neat. These are from a series of Paramount films, and these are advertising. These are Second World War. This one's the story of Dr. Wassell, a native nurse dances for the American wounded in a hospital in Java. Really great graphics. They had these priced at $175 each. They had a bunch of them, and a bunch of them are marked sold now. And I can see why, because the graphics are really good. I'll show you one more over here as we pan past some neat garden statuary and a green 1930s scooter. The nurses are very friendly with the soldiers in all of these. A fun way to get a good graphic look if you like old advertising is look for paper advertising. It's usually less expensive than metal or wood or that sort of thing. You can even find, like, this appears to have been a fold out in the centerfold of some other publication because you can see the staple marks. But look at the great graphics with Mr. Peanut there. And here's another art bust, and this gives you, again, the idea that, yes, this style was very popular between 1900 and 1910, or thereabouts. This one is ceramic, and it is Fauxfinette. She looks very cheerful. When Saturday Night Live came out in the 1970s, Mr. Bill was a poor, hapless figure made a play. I think it was a spoof on 1950s and 60s children's shows, and Mr. Bill had a frenemy called Mr. Hands who would do horrible things with him, and usually Mr. Bill lost body parts and said, "Oh no," a lot. This is a styrofoam version from the era. This must have been done for a party or something, and it's priced at $250, so funny how comic nostalgia is worth something too. Well, if someone asks you how your Chad's hanging, hopefully you'll have a nice tin ballot box like this one. This is from Monroe County in Florida, Board of Elections. And you can see it's got the locks and the lid and all of the safety devices. This is what keeps the Republic going. And this is a Mark's Lumar earth hauler. You don't really see this one very often. The color's different, and so's the design. 1960s vintage. I wanted to stop for just a second and thank all of you who have subscribed. I appreciate that very much. It does help us, and it doesn't cost you anything, but it lets YouTube know that you like what's going on here. Please click the bell to be notified of future videos. Thumbs up to like this video, and leave comments if you would. And also, if you're interested in memberships, we've got a couple different membership level tiers with different benefits, so you can look at a video in my playlist all about that. Now let's get back to this show. I sold a couple of Viewmaster reels yesterday, and really the graphics on the sleeves are as important to selling them nowadays. There are people who are collecting them to look at with their kids or just because they find them interesting, but a lot of the people are collecting because it has something from a TV show like the Flintstones or the Apollo moon landing or something specifically of interest. They're generally just a few dollars each. The folios where they're packed together, like the Flintstones here, are a little more. There is one very valuable one, and that's from Bonanza. They all gave the photographer the bird without being obvious about it as a joke when he took the picture, and they figured he'd catch it in the developing, and it turned out he didn't, and they issued some, and parents started complaining, so they withdrew them from the market. But some of them are still out there that were never turned back in, and they can be worth $100 or more. Meccano is similar to an Erector set, but English. And those are some neat old modeling books for them. And then he's got a nice selection of cap guns. These are 1950s, 60s cap guns primarily, with the plastic handles, but they're collectible too, especially if they've got horses or steers or stars on the handles. Big Little books were done in Wisconsin, and there are other versions of them. You see the Better Little book there, but the Big Little book is what they were called. Now when they're worn like this and they're lesser characters, they can sell fairly inexpensively, but he's even got Buffalo Bill here. That seems like it's in good shape, and Kit Carson. These started in the 30s. Only $4 each. Some of these titles are pretty good, especially Buck Rogers, and some of the space ones can go for good money. You'll notice there are some people out here even though we're not open yet, and it's not just the dealers out here, it's also dealers shopping, because the outdoor booths are really good places to pick at this show. A lot of the dealers bring in bulk, they price it accordingly, so there's some deals to be had. So this little piece is unassuming, it's just silver plate, but when you pick it up you notice it's a little heavier than you'd think such a small object would be, so look at the bottom.
Silver solder, and I don't know yet the exact definition.
Silver solder, what they mean is that they use actual silver to solder the points together so they won't tarnish and look wrong. Yeah, that's what they refer to by silver solder.
I thought it was molded, so silver, I guess
it's just at the points where they put the handles and the lids on. Yeah, that's where you'll see the silver solder. Yeah, it's not a mark you see very often. It was just so that people knew if you were buying silver plate that it wasn't going to tarnish differently in different places.
Well, that makes sense.
These candlesticks are neat. They are copper.
They're beautiful.
They're really pretty. I wonder who the maker is. They look European.
Probably, yeah. But
and actually,
yeah, there is, but it's a hallmark.
Oh, it's a hallmark, right? Oh, very good. Yes, that definitely looks like it's likely to be European. And I love that it's actually, this is where the silver plate is worn through to the copper, but it's really nicely,
It's so
the way it's
intricate.
come through. Yeah, the
Yeah,
detail
very
is
intricate.
great. I'd say these are, what, 1890s? 1900
don't know.
maybe? Hard
I
to
just
say.
brought them out. They were in my house, and I brought them out. So I'm waiting for people to tell me more about it because I didn't research that one.
Yeah, when you have it for home.
I think this is Hotel, Golden Hotel. See, that's another one.
Oh yes, very neat. Yep, hotelware does really well actually. I've noticed that people like that, especially for silver plate, because silver plate's hard to sell if it isn't
I've been
hotel.
clean. See, this one is clean. I want, it's almost like a match. It's similar, but not quite. But this one I cleaned. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome.
And can you tell me what you have on this piece? Okay, 29. Okay, well, I would like this,
This.
and I would like the frog, and I didn't know
Okay,
what
the
he
frog
was
is
either.
20, and
Okay.
I'll do 20.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. Here's another piece of nambe, very popular in the 70s and 80s especially, and very heavy and very well marked. They're nice pieces. They do scratch easily, so keeping them well is the trick on those. This is a really cool cypress knee because it's a circle of them and it's been made into a planter. But this is one piece of cypress knees that they were able to save from somewhere when they cut down a cypress tree. This is what allows the trees to breathe, so now people don't cut these off now that we have an understanding of that, unless they have to take the tree out. And then I'll show this because this is Dorothy Thorpe, and I've always liked this pattern with the edge. Let me get it where we can see it a little better. There you go. Really wonderful orchid. And this one has her sticker on it. Sometimes they have this emblem that you see in the middle there. Sometimes that is etched onto the bottom. But oftentimes they would just use a paper label because they didn't want the etch to come through and ruin the design when the glass was clear. So you'll see a lot of these unmarked. Priced at $59, that's not a bad price. She's still very collectible.
It's made in Spain. It's probably cotton. And it has cherubs.
Oh, it's just beautiful.
And someone with lavish, bedroom style.
Yes.
This woodwork.
Oh, it's gorgeous, and the condition's really good.
Perfect condition, never used.
Yeah, with these pastels, do you think this is 1930s?
Very possible, yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
It's gorgeous.
Wow, how fun.
The fringes also are gold colored.
And they're in good shape. And this was made in Spain.
Yes, it has a label.
Labels are always at the other corner than the one that you're expecting, I'm sure.
And
it's on the other side. Well, let's take a look.
Yeah, I have several pieces made in Spain.
Oh, there it is. I see the mark right here.
Always nicely, crafted.
Yeah, oh, it's quite lovely. What is your price on it?
That one is $100.
Gosh.
King size.
I like the shade on this little lamp, but I don't like.
You know what? For $100, it's sold. I'll take it. On the left, we've got a booth full of comic books, Golden Era on up. And then this booth is really fun because he gets a lot of interesting things that are advertising in big pieces and local interests. I like this. This is Swift Mud, as they call it, the South Florida Water Management District. And it's got the alligator, which is what makes it neat. And there's a Lucite art sculpture. This is something we see in Florida quite a bit. All of these old tube cabinets, shop cabinets, little shelves and displays have really shot up in price in the last few years, partly because of American pickers making them more and more popular and people aware of them, but also because they are being used for shelving by dealers. And there's the old Budweiser bow tie sign. There are a lot of lovely lamps in here. The pink glass piece in the middle is Murano. Look at the lovely opalescence on this piece. Very handsome wall sconce with the wheat sheath behind, and then in front we have a doorstop. The basket shaped, this one would be likely by Hubley in Pennsylvania. I believe Arcade also made them. A lot of the cast iron makers did do these doorstops in the 1920s and 30s, and the multicolored paint actually makes them more desirable. We see burl tables in other parts of the country, but this one in Florida is a ship's wheel mounted on a piece of cypress. That's going to be a 1960s little table, and that looks to price around $295. A lot of really pretty porcelain on this table. I wanted to point out the oyster plate. Oysters were such a great thing for people in the 1870s and 80s when refrigeration allowed it to be sent in from the coast. Before that, you had to live on the coast to have oysters. So then making lots of fancy plates for oysters became very popular. This one is Limoges. It has two different Limoges signatures. Should date to about 1900. Very pretty piece. These used to sell for $150 and $200 a piece. The prices have come down, which is great for new collectors because they're really lovely, and you can get a nice one for under $100 if you buy in the right place. This bird is quite striking. This is Italian, and this is Montaheda, which is a pretty well-regarded porcelain maker. Look at the detail in the painting. All those brush strokes by hand. These are a lot of late 19th and early 20th century ceramic pieces, French, Austrian. They all had a fairly similar look because those were the styles at the time. I do want to show this little guy. This is Viking's Epic Bird Candy Dish. Notice the tail is short. Always look for this with these. This tail has been broken and ground down. That happened a lot. The tail should be about 2 or 3 inches longer than this. Now, there were some that came out of the factory with shorter tails too, so you really have to look at the end of it to see if it's rounded off in the proper way that was fire polished at the plant, or if it's cut at an angle or sharp, which means it's broken. We have playing cards. You've got Elvis, you've got Mickey Gilley, and then of course some slightly scantily dressed ladies. Very collectible now. Here's something that I don't see very often. Oh, it's a wax seal. Yes, okay, and an ink eraser. So on the left is the quill knife or ink eraser. If you made a mistake, you just scraped it off the page. And then we've got a quill punch, and then this one is for also wax seal and ink eraser. Now, a lot of folks figure that you can't shop at a high-end antique show. Well, I did just buy a few really neat things, so I feel otherwise. Good morning. Now, here's an example. This is all 50% off on these shelves, and she's got beautiful pieces. She has some things I recognize and some things we'd have to look at the bottoms to see. I always like these little Carlton ware lettuce pieces. These applied florals are really nice. Some of those are English, some are Italian. This is a nice little Italian piece, this Millefiori Latticino work. And it's half of $8. So you can buy at a high-end antique show. I will take that piece. That's a great one. I really like these. I just got a bunch of these, so I won't buy them because I have a bunch I need to get sorted. But $10 for 4. I always referred to these as gummies. They have a rubberized exterior with these great squiggles, and it's great because if you're outside on a hot day, you won't drop this glass because it's got texture. However, you cannot use it in the dishwasher. I just sold the vase version of this to a viewer. This is Royal Vienna, and it went to his mother for Christmas, and apparently she just loved it. Royal Vienna is good quality. This one is priced around $275 because it's larger in an urn. The little vase, I think, was $45. Very pretty work from about 1900. All of these pieces are Royal Vienna. They would often start with the transfer, and then they would enamel bead and hand paint around it. This is Royal Crown Darby, their Imari pattern from England. Very high-end porcelain. These are Limoges pieces here. You see the set of 8 priced at $400, but this dealer is getting ready to retire, so prices are very negotiable here. You have the big punch bowl, also Limoges with the grapes for $325. The pattern isn't the easiest to see on this white shelf, but this is a beautiful piece that is deeply etched. You see the birds and the fruit. And when we look at the bottom, it's got the mark right in the middle. Although it's a little hard for us to read, but there it is for you. All of these are Lalique pieces here. You have the cats together. I really like the little perfume with the figures with the wild hair.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah.
The angel pattern here in Lalique. Really lovely pieces. I am going to have to go open my booth, but I will be back around to show you more.
Stickers on them.
The little Lalique bottles
That's
were used to make Lalique cologne, or to package it at one time. Always been partial to this pattern. Lalique, because it's clear, is not selling as expensively as it has in the past, but it's such good quality.
Ooh, I wanted that.
People who really appreciate fine quality are gravitating towards it, and I think you will find that this will revive in the marketplace as a result. The really old pieces are marked R. Lalique for René Lalique. He was the progenitor, and when he died they quit using the R. So that dates items back to the early part of the 20th century. This is a really neat triple mirror. These were portable for transport if you were traveling or if you needed to move it around the house. They have wonderful celluloid designs on them. Look at the lovely girl. And then you open it up, it has a hanger so it can hang on a wall, and you see the triple mirror. These were popular around 1900 and 1910. And this one's priced at $2.25, and that is about the going rate for a nice one in good condition. Condition is important on these. They're not always in good shape. Thank you so much for joining me for this portion of the West Palm Beach Antique Fest. I will be coming back with more, both this weekend and then in the next couple of months, because the extravaganza is in February and the last show I do here is generally in March. So we will have more fun things to show you, and there'll be more dealers coming down from up north, so we'll see some different things next time. In the meantime, this is George the Antique Nomad on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and here on YouTube. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining me again in the fun and fascinating antique community, here where online meets the real world. Please click the subscribe button below, click the bell to be notified when new videos upload, leave a comment below, and hit thumbs up to like this video. Links to our online social media daily posts and our items for sale are in the description. This is George at the Antique Nomad. Bye for now.